Second day today of the Brain B.O.S.S challenge. And so this was the different personalities. And we know that here was the primitive brain. Here is the Mr. Hyde personality, like it's the one, the more reactive one. And I'm always very careful not to say that they are bad, or that we don't want them. Because the thing is that if you are on a dark alley and you're on your own by yourself and it's in the middle of the night and a strong man approaches you with a knife in the hand, that's the one you want. You don't want to start a philosophical conversation about how life is precious. At the moment you want adrenaline, you want cortisol, you want the stress hormones that make you superhuman. But the problem is that we, as we saw yesterday, we come with this arrow that has the tendency to go there. And we are not aware, as we saw yesterday, it is proven that up to 90% of the population actually lives most of the time connecting these parts of the brain. So leaving out the experimenter and the co-creator. And that's a pity. And if we look around, we see the result of operating from this. Because what is the key for which personality switches on or off? Communication and trust. That's how it changes. So I told you yesterday about this one example. I can be super happy. I can be here in my co-creator and I'm super have great mood. And then somebody I don't know just appears in front of me and starts insulting me. Then, if I don't have a lot of self-control and self-regulation, what happens is that literally this switches off and this switches Mr. Hyde, because my brain say hi, I'm seeing people coming in, say hi and let me know where you are from and where you're connecting from. And so then Mr. Hyde connects, right? And Mr. Hyde is because interprets that situation as I'm being threatened. Okay? The problem is, okay, you could say, well, but it's not so bad. It's somebody that's coming off the street that is insulting me. Yeah, but what is that you're having a struggle with your partner or with your child or at work? You don't want that one. You don't want the full adrenaline one, the reactive one, the one that gets either pissed off or just freezes and doesn't know what to do and what to say, and then goes at home feeling bad about himself or herself. No, that's why we all, in the books, actually, we all want to be in charge of our different personalities. And you can. I just want you to know that's the main purpose of this training, that I want you to know that you really can, okay? It's a matter of training. I see the difference because now I've been training my children for quite a while, and also I have it from the clients that work with me that have children, that then of course they show all this and they teach all this, not with the complicated words, but they just perform like that with their children. And I'm going to tell you an anecdote so that you see how powerful the mind can be. One of my children is 6 years old and has the tendency can be quite dramatic. When something hurts, it's like it's hurting for the whole world. I'm literally like, I'm so in pain, mommy. I can't take this anymore. Like really, really. And the other day was having one of those moments. I don't even exactly know what the pain was about. And then I always tell them how important it is, because our mind is always listening. I said, you remember how important it is how you're talking to yourself. And I just asked, have you had pain before? And he said, yes. And I said, have you had very much pain, like really strong pain before? And said, yes. And I just reminded him, a couple of times we even had to go to the hospital. And he said, yes, ma'am. And I said, did it go away? And he said, yes. And I said, well, then tell your mind that's exactly what's going to happen now. That this pain, and I said, and lower down you know, because if you tell that it's terrible, that is the worst, that's what you're feeding. You're feeding that is terrible, that is the worst. But if you say to your mind, okay, this is uncomfortable, it is uncomfortable, but I know I've been here, I've had it worse, and I know it goes away, and I know I'm going to be fine, and I know that my body's strong. 1 minute, I swear, 1 minute. And he turned around and said, Mom, I don't feel any pain anymore. Why? Because they are not conditioned. You know, they just believe it, they just trust it. And that's the thing. Trust, as I said before, trust and communication. He trusts my word because up to now, it's true. Everything that I've said and everything that when it comes to training your mind, it has worked and it has shown them that it works. So trust. Second, communication. He changed the communication from being this highly dramatic and you know highly energetic loaded communication of this is the worst and it's horrible and I'm in so much pain and mom I can't take this anymore to this yeah, okay, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, I know, but I've been here. It's gonna go away. I know I'm gonna be fine. And then it goes away. And that's the magic. And that's a moment usually when most of my clients tell me, oh, Marisa, what you're telling that is so difficult, right? And I say, no, it's not. The thing is that we've been working the opposite way of what we had been, you know, what we should be doing. So most of the times, it's not hard. What it's hard is to retrain yourself to stop doing what you might be doing, which is feeding the lower parts of your brain. Yesterday, you had as homework, and you haven't done it, please do it just for you, okay? Just independently of if you want to win the prize and you get the VIP, where I will create a tailor-made hypnosis just for your specific block. And trust me, I've had clients that it has taken them 2 or 3 sessions and the block was gone. That's so powerful as it can be, especially if it's tailored for you. So even if it's not for the prize, just do it for yourself because it will give you a good insight of which areas are you feeding in your life. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use an example from a client, okay? And I'm going to explain to you now the relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, because now it might be that some of you, and write me a 1 if you were thinking about this, some of you said, yeah, but you know, many times consciously, I want to change. You know, I don't want, for example, I tell myself, I don't want to get upset with my kid, or I don't want to lose my patience so easily with my kid, my husband, my wife, my partner, my boss, whatever. But then I can't. And usually we tend to blame the person. And we say, you know, no, because he drives me crazy when he does this, or says this, on she then when she does that, then provokes me, right? So we blame the other. I work with the concept of radical responsibility. Radical responsibility, radical self-compassion, and sacred discipline. And there is no room for blaming others from how I'm feeling. So then, but I understand, you know, that we many times want to change consciously, and then we kind of like find the same wall again and again and again. So I'm going to show you what happens there. I see that you see it. Here. So this, I hope you see it, but I think it's enough. Imagine this is an iceberg. Probably you learned it in school. In school, they taught us how we only see 1/7 of the iceberg. So that means that we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg, right? And everything else is actually hidden to our sides. It doesn't mean that it's not there, but it's hidden. So we don't see it. So unless you know about this, if you are on a boat and see an iceberg from far away, you trust that it's just this, right? Same happens with your mind. The same happens with your mind. We have two minds. The conscious mind is very easy to know, because the conscious mind is the one that talks like you do. You know, it's the one that we listen to, because it's the one that pretty much talks like a human, you know, in our thoughts. That's the conscious mind. And that's the smallest one. That's this one. And that's the highest amount of information that you can access and that comes through. Okay, so as you see again, as yesterday, we have this two-sided road. Okay, the most, and I know there are some clients here, so I know you know this one, 5%. That's the most, 5%. Where does the rest 95% goes? Into our beautiful and complex subconscious mind. So this is pretty much, many times we are trying to solve a problem, and I explain like this to my clients. Imagine you have a huge house, okay? You have a house with 4 or 5 bedrooms and huge terrace and a garden and I don't know how many toilets, you know, like a huge house. And then in this huge house, you lost something. You lost something and you're looking for it. You're consciously looking for it. Well, imagine that instead of looking in the kitchen, in the living room, in the different rooms, in the bathrooms and terrace, in the garden, in, you know, upstairs, no, you stay the whole time in the smallest toilet of your house. Wouldn't you get really frustrated, because you would think, I can't find it, I've looked everywhere in this damn bathroom and I can't find it? Well, that's what most of us do. We operate from our conscious mind and we want to make changes and we want to find answers from our conscious mind, when pretty much everything is down here. An easy question for you. And please, and write it on the chat box also. What did you have this morning for breakfast? What did you eat for breakfast? Even if you didn't eat, just write, I didn't eat. So what did you have for breakfast? Probably, because it takes a while I see your answers, probably most of you will remember, right? But now I tell you, what did you have for breakfast on your 4th birthday? And you will be like, impossible, I don't remember. Oh, you do. It's right there. But you can't access the way you access your conscious mind. We will work on how to access the subconscious mind on day 4. So don't miss that one, because that's gonna be a hypnosis where we're gonna go directly into the subconscious mind, so that you experience it yourself, how it feels. They communicate completely different. And let me tell you how important it is, this relationship, because the thing is that all our beliefs are not here in the 5%, or our beliefs are here. The fantasies are here. The instincts are here. All of our life, starting from the very moment that your nervous system started to actually record, okay, is here. Everything. But most of the time we are unaware, and this is controlling our life just as much as this iceberg. If it was on the water, it would be moving because of the big chunk underneath, not because of the tip. It would be moving because of that. Well, it's exactly the same with the humans. So that means that most of the times we are believing that we are in charge when we are actually not. When we are being led by this huge chunk of iceberg. And where does the information come from? Yeah, as I guess many of you can even think or know or probably have already experienced. Childhood plays a huge role. The first 7 years of your life, you are a video camera, literally recording everything. And that's where you first learn, the roles between men and women, and then how it works in relationship, because you watch a mom and dad, then how, it is with the brothers and sisters, and everything gets really recorded, and there starts the basic wiring of your brain. So childhood is really important, and of course, any experience that is an emotional impact to you matters. I'm going to give you an example of how this works and how important it is to detect our limiting beliefs and to go back to our story, to go back to our childhood. That's going to be the homework for today, of course. So I'm going to take the story of one of my favorite clients of all times, because she is, for me, a great example of resilience. This woman came up this year after the Spanish lockdown, that we were locked for almost 2 months, and she was completely out of control. Like, she literally, she had some anxiety had skyrocketed. She was feeling horrible about herself, and she was like, she even said herself, was the first time that I even thought of killing myself. And so she started working with me, and then she learned all about what I told you about, the holistic approach that I use with the neuroscience, with the energy work, with working with the body, and for those connected with the spiritual realm. And she then realized one thing, because when we talk about how we are being programmed as a child, actually there are literally 25,000 hours of programming in average, that just from our parents, 25,000 in the first 7 years. That's quite a lot. So if you heard, for example, that you had to be a good girl, and you have to be a good girl, it's very important that you're a good girl, and that's how you get love and recognition, then that's in there wired. Or that maybe you learned, for example, I learned that it was the way that I could be the most safe was if I was being of service to the others. So then I also had then a lot of boundaries issues, of course, because that's what I learned, to be of service for others. So this client made this experience. Like, we start working, and then one day she said, Marisa, now I have finally understand something that I've experienced all my life. And she said that all of her life, every time she would then go from somewhere back to home, she would connect with anxiety, with guilt, and with feelings of fear. And she said, all of my life, I've been telling myself stories. What's the stories that you tell yourself? And she was like, I was always telling myself, it was because I wanted, when I was when I had the kids, it's because I felt guilty, and because I had been working, and I wanted to go back to my kids. And when I had a partner, it's because I wanted so badly to be with my partner, or because, I really wanted more time for cooking, and that. She said, she was always telling herself some stories about why every time she would be heading back home, she would connect with this anxiety, this blame, and this sense of fear. Until we started working together, and she understood how the mind worked. We went deep, we went back into her childhood, and then it made boom. And then one day, she told me how she had been walking back from the movies, and she again connected to this feeling, and then she stopped in the middle of the street. And instead of telling herself a story of why maybe she was feeling that, she asked herself, what is this coming from? Where is this coming from? She had done so much work already that the answer came very easily. And she connected that when she was a little girl, her parents wouldn't take her to the school. Actually, they expected her to be like a maiden and be the one that cleans and makes dinner ready and so on. So from a very early age, like basically 4 or 5 year old, she would then stand up by herself, make her bag, make her lunch, go to school and go back. And every time she went back from school, she knew she was gonna get in trouble. And she knew, kind of like Cinderella, there was gonna be like this huge amount of list of to-do list that she needed to do. So every time she learned and she was programmed then from that moment on that every time she would come back home, that fear would appear again. Because back then it was a survival mechanism. It helped that she activated this, help her back then when she was 5 and 6 or 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 years old. Why it helped her? Because she made her whole faster. So then the faster she went, the less stress she got when she got there. She came in with such a sense of anxiety that she had a lot of energy, so she could do all the work that was all the housework and everything. She couldn't do it. So back then it was a survival mechanism. But the problem is that since we are so unaware of how we work, we continue letting those mechanisms rule our lives. So she was 67 when she came to work with me. She spent, and that started when she was like 4 or 5 years old. So she spent 60 years of her life. And this was what was happening. Subconscious mind. There was a trigger. Which trigger was it? In her, the trigger was going back home. The trigger, what it made was that it connected to the unconscious memory. As I said, everything you've experienced in your life is right here, okay? So the unconscious memory would then, and the unconscious memory, of course, develop unconscious thoughts. The unconscious thoughts. The unconscious thoughts that started back then in the original program, in the original pattern. So then she would then, and the conscious thoughts, that's then the tricky part, we don't listen to them because they are not the conscious one. Oh no, it's kicking me out. Hello, it said that there was problems. Can you please tell me if I'm talking on my own or if you're with me? Let me know. Let me know, let me know, let me know. Oh yes, I'm back. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I'm back. That's the important thing. So I hope you didn't miss it. Then, but I'm just small recap. Trigger, my client was going back home. Unconscious memory is the one that wakes up. The unconscious memory leads to unconscious thoughts. The unconscious thoughts from the original program. In her case, the unconscious thoughts was, oh my God, I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna get, because sometimes she would even get slapped when she walked through the door. So I'm gonna get maybe they're gonna hit me. I know I'm gonna be in trouble. I know there is gonna be a lot to do. Unconscious thoughts, and the unconscious thoughts bring you to and that's the moment. This is the key. And it brings to the unconscious action. But look where I'm drawing it. I'm drawing it right on the waterline. Because the unconscious action, thank you, Carmen, and for letting me know also. The unconscious action, you feel it. That's your cue. But most of the times we try to explain the unconscious action instead of going all the way back down that we many times need to do. So let me know if you have any questions on this. There is, of course, a lot to do, but I'm giving you the most important and the most basic things so that you can really start working on this on yourself right now. How? Yes, comes the homework. So the homework is, you have to be very honest for this homework. Otherwise, it's not gonna be helpful. And the whole point, right, is that it's helpful. So the homework is, you are gonna then be very honest and you're gonna write a list where you write the 5 things about mom and the 5 things about dad. And if you had other caretakers, then about those, okay? If your grandmother was your primary caretaker, then take grandmother. If it was your aunt or your uncle, then take your aunt or your uncle, okay? I'm just gonna talk about mom and dad to make it simple, but you make it yours. So 5 things, 5 adjectives, characteristics, personality traits that you didn't like from mom, 5 things that you didn't like from dad. First, do that. And once you are done and very honest, you look at the list and you put a mark. 10 being, oh my God, I'm exactly the same. 0, 1 being like, I couldn't be more opposite. And then the rest in between. And you put a mark on yourself of how much of that personality trait you can find on yourself. And if you want to make an extension, if you are in a partnership, or if you want to check your relationship with the other gender, then make a list for that person too. And see how much of those personality traits show up in that person. That would also give you an insight. I would love us to make it even more interactive. So please share your insights. Take this opportunity and really use it.